Hi guys, Olive here. Here today with the final video in my epic Trash My Bookshelves fiction unhauling project. In case you don't know what this project is, / was, I guess at this point, this is something I started doing in the spring. I decided I wanted to go through my fiction collection and weed out any books I didn't think I would ever get around to reading. I decided my fiction collection was a little bit too large, considering I'm mainly a nonfiction reader now. I was a much different type of reader when I was building the fiction collection that I used to have. And I wanted to free up some shelf space for my ever-growing nonfiction collection. This is a project I could have done off camera, just on my own here in my reading room. I could have looked at my fiction collection and in just one day decide which books would go and which books would stay, which ones sounded appealing still and which ones didn't. But I was really scared to go into this process blind like that. There was obviously something about these books that spoke to me in the first place, and I was scared that I would end up getting rid of books I could have gone on to love. I thought that was a real risk because I don't know anything about these books. I haven't read them yet. So I decided that I would crowdsource this project. I turned to all of you for help. And for each of the 5 shelves that I wanted to go through, the 5 shelves that contained the fiction collection that I used to have, I made 2 different videos for each shelf. In the first video, I would show you all the books that used to live on that shelf. I would tell you if I had any backstory with that specific copy, if it had sentimental value. I would tell you what I knew about what that book was about and whether or not I had any active plans to keep it. And then I would give you a few weeks to let me know your opinions in the comment section. And after some time had passed, I would consult those comments and decide which books were going to stay and which books were going to go. But it became clear after I did that first shelves video that there were always going to be a handful of books on each of the shelves that no one agreed on. Either there weren't enough comments or the comments contradicted one another. Some people really loved the books, some people really hated them. And so in those cases, the comments didn't help me make that final decision that I was looking to make. So because of that, I started making a second video for each shelf. And in that second video, I would do the try a chapter tag and read 20 to 25 pages from a maximum of 5 books off of that shelf to help me make those final decisions. Today's video is that second type of video. This is a try a chapter tag for the 5th out of 5 total shelves. This is the last video I have to do for this project. So in today's video, I'm going to be reading from 5 books that I still couldn't decide what I wanted to do with after reading your great comments on the previous video, the penultimate video in this project. And these are the 5 books that I'm going to be reading from today. And as usual, I'm going to start from right over here with The Book of Fires. This book is historical fiction, and my stance on this book in the last video was that I wanted to get rid of it because it talks about the manufacture of fireworks. And suffice it to say, I really dislike fireworks. They sound like gunshots. But some people did speak up in the comment section of that last video. They said this book is really beautiful and that maybe I should consider giving it a try. And I decided that I would give it a try. I don't actually have to hear fireworks when I read this book. That's a bonus. So let me read from this and we'll see if it's a keeper after all. Okay, I'm back. I read the first 2 chapters of The Book of Fires by Jane Borradaile, and wow, that was actually kind of incredible. Not a whole lot happens plot-wise in the first 2 chapters. It's 1752. We follow 17-year-old Agnes. She lives with her family, and it seems like they're rather poor. They're slaughtering a pig, they're preserving it with salt, and she's sent to a neighbor's house to borrow a skillet. But when she arrives there, the neighbor's dead. And Agnes takes that opportunity to take some money from that dead neighbor. And we get the impression that she's doing that because she has plans to run away, because she's actually pregnant. That might sound a little bit basic and unremarkable for 2 whole chapters, 20-something pages, but there was so much beautiful descriptive language in here, and there's so much focus on the moment-to-moment activity. It's not just that we're told something's happening. No, we get to be there in the thick of it with them. And so I felt totally absorbed by this book. I thought pretty much everything within these first 2 chapters was really well done, with the exception of Agnes info dumping her life story to just like a pile of wood. That's not an exaggeration. I guess the author had some things that she wanted us to know about Agnes and no other way to do it, so Agnes just starts talking to herself, but in front of some wood. It was kind of strange. But everything else I thought was fantastic. This is definitely something I want to keep reading. I actually had a hard time putting this down after I read those first 2 chapters. I just wanted to keep reading. I feel like this book is a really good example of why I wanted to take on this project, why I've done so many videos pertaining to this project, why it was worth my time, because this is a book I would have gotten rid of if I was just left to my own devices. I would have seen, oh, this is about fireworks. I don't really want to read about that because I don't like fireworks. But because of your comments, this is now a book I really want to read and that I think I'm going to go on to love. So thank you. Okay, this next book is one that I don't think I had many strong opinions on in the previous video, except for the fact that this is a fantasy book and I'm generally not looking to keep around a whole lot of fantasy books. I don't reach for fantasy very frequently, so I don't think it makes sense to have a ton of fantasy books in my collection. But I got a lot of really great feedback on Aleph the Unseen by G. Willow Wilson, so I figured it was at least worth giving a try. So I'm gonna go do that, and I'll be right back. Okay, hi. I got 20 pages into this. I could have gone a little further, but I had already decided what I wanted to do with this. I'll tell you what that is in just a moment. First, let me talk to you about what this is about, at least as much as I understood. This book follows a young man. We don't know his legal name by the point that I've stopped reading, but we call him Aleph because that's the name he goes by online. He is some sort of a hacker fighting government censors in his Middle Eastern country. I don't even think we're told what country it is. I'm assuming it's a fictional one. Before the events of this book, he met a woman online and they met up in person. They're in love. They want to be together. But right when this book opens, she's ghosted him. She stopped responding to him. But then by the point I finished reading, they've met up again and she tells him that her father has arranged a marriage for her and they can no longer be together. In case my tone wasn't already giving this away, I just couldn't really get into this one. I didn't even necessarily hate it. I just couldn't connect with it. I didn't like the story. I didn't like the characters. I felt like I didn't even understand what was happening at some points. I generally don't like the way fantasy novels are paced, like breakneck speed, or then nothing's happening at all. It feels like there's nothing in between. Fantasy just isn't really my genre. And also, coming from the Book of Fires, the first book I read from in this Try a Chapter tag, that book has the kind of writing that I really love. Gorgeous, lyrical, descriptive, totally my cup of tea. Going from that to this made this feel more like YA than I think it actually is. This book discusses some very adult things, often using very adult language. So this reading like YA but then containing those things felt very strange to me. This just doesn't seem like my kind of thing, so it's going to get a no from me, but I am positive that someone who is shopping at the used bookstore that I end up selling this book to will be thrilled to find this. All right, hopefully I will have a whole lot better luck with this next one, book number 3. This is Ghost Written by David Mitchell. I know I spoke about this in my last video as well, but there's just something about David Mitchell, even though so many people love his books, I've just never been able to connect with his books, at least not yet. And I know I have tried this one in the past. I put it on a TBR, I started a few pages of it, but I don't remember anything about it. Like, I don't think I put it down because I wasn't enjoying it. I think I put it down because I got distracted by other books, which I tend to do. But I got a lot of really positive comments on this one, including one comment. A person included a snippet of their review from Library Thing, and there were things within their review that made me think that I might end up really liking this one. So I'm going to try this one, or should I say I'm going to try this again, and we'll see how it goes this time. All right, I'm back, and I actually broke with tradition with this one because I started somewhere in this book that wasn't the very, very beginning. Every other book within this project, I've started at the beginning, but this one I could start somewhere else because this is actually a collection of interconnected short stories. So I could have started with whichever story I wanted to, and I don't think it would have made much of a difference. But the one I chose was the second story, which is about a young man. He's 19 years old and he lives and works in Tokyo. He works at a jazz store. And I chose that one because it was the one that one commenter was talking about in the review that they posted. It sounded like something I would really love. I love jazz music. So I thought if I was going to connect with any of these short stories, it would probably be that one. But yeah, within these pages, we meet this young man, Satoru. We see him working in the jazz shop. He's dealing with his really gross boss. He's falling in love with this woman who keeps coming into the jazz shop and talking with him. And he's giving us pieces of his backstory along the way. And generally, I thought it was fine. I liked all the jazz references, of course, but other than that, it just really wasn't doing it for me. And I had to wonder while I was reading this, if the one about jazz can't hook me, then what chance do any of the rest of them have? But then, on the other hand, I had to admit that there's no real way that I could know how I would feel about all the other stories unless I sampled a little bit from all of them. I knew this book was going to be really challenging for the try a chapter tag because I could love one story and really not like the next. Overall, I'm just getting the feeling that this would be a 3-star read. And as I've said in previous videos for this project, I'm being a little bit cutthroat. I only want to keep fiction books around if I think they're going to earn 4 or 5 stars. So maybe this is something I'd want to pick up someday in the future, but not anytime soon. And I'd probably want to read it on ebook. So I'm going to get rid of this physical book. But now onto the penultimate book in this tag. This is another work of fantasy. It's Rivers of London by Ben Aronovich. I've already spoken about how I feel about fantasy books earlier in this video, so I won't repeat that. But in addition to those feelings, I also thought this probably wouldn't be a series for me. But then I saw the comment section, and oh my, there were so many comments on this book. There were a few lukewarm ones, a couple of negative ones, but the comment section was overwhelmingly positive. So many positive comments about this book, to the point where I felt like I needed to try this and see if I liked it. So I'm going to do that. I'll be back in a sec. All right, I'm back once again. I read the first 20-odd pages of this one. This one is about a London police officer named Peter Grant. He's at a murder scene when we first meet him, and he actually starts questioning a ghost because apparently this ghost witnessed the murder. And then at the same time all of this is going on, Peter Grant is attempting to avoid a transfer to a different branch of the police, I guess you would call it. They do a whole lot less active police work like Peter Grant wants to do. They do a whole lot more paperwork, and he doesn't want to do that. And that's really it for as far as I've read so far. And overall, I'm just feeling kind of meh about it. I didn't dislike it, but I didn't really like it either. And I think if I were to keep this book around, I would probably also think of it as committing to this series. And it's a long series. I can't even think ahead to a time when I will have time to get really invested in a book series. I just have so many books that I'm trying to read for other projects. But then again, if I ever did want to get invested in this series, I would probably want to listen to these books on audiobook. Like as I was reading these early pages, I just kept hearing the regional British accents in my head. And I think I would just rather listen to someone else reading this book. I think that would be a whole lot more enjoyable. So I'm not sure I'm going to take this off of my grander TBR list quite yet, but I do think I'm going to get rid of this physical copy. But now onto the final book that I'm going to be reading from before I close out this series. This book is one that I was basically positive I was going to keep when I showed it off in that last video. But then I started to get all of these comments that had really mixed things to say about Commonwealth by Ann Patchett. Some people said they thought this book was overrated. Some people said they thought it's not Ann Patchett's best. Other people said they really liked it. So I just don't know what to think. I've never read any Ann Patchett before, so I thought it would probably be a good idea to sample a little bit of her work before making a decision either way. I'm going to go do that. I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back for the final time, and unfortunately this is going to be a rather anticlimactic ending to this tag and this project in general, because I felt pretty meh about this one too. In these early pages, we're at a christening party, which is just about as fun to read about as you can imagine, but there's a district attorney who shows up uninvited. The christening party is for the daughter of a cop and his wife. It's their second child together. And I didn't actually see this in the book, because in these pages we're just at the party. But according to the synopsis, this district attorney kisses the cop's wife. I know this book is about a blended family, so I'm assuming that's where everything gets started, that they break up with their spouses, they get together, and then the rest of the book is about their family together. Several people in my comment section from the last video warned me that this is a very character-driven novel, which already made me feel like I might not go on to like it because I prefer books that are heavier on plot. But then also now I definitely don't have any confidence that I would go on to like this because I didn't like those characters. I didn't even think they were interesting. There's nothing about them that makes me want to keep reading. So this is one that I'm actually going to get rid of, after being so positive that it's one that I was going to keep at the beginning of the last video. I guess that's a fitting end to this roller coaster ride of a project. But since we are now at the end of this project, I will give you the final figures. I've been keeping track of them as I've been going along, so I thought I would share them with you. So according to my count, I showed you a total of 162 books across those 5 shelves. Of those, I kept 71 of them, which is 43.8%. And that means that I got rid of 56.2% of those books, which is a total of 91. One of those books I did rehome, and all the rest of them I've either already sold or will be selling to my used bookstore. If you would like to see a picture of all the books from shelf number 5 that I decided to get rid of, including the 4 books from today's video that just didn't make the cut, please be sure to head on over to my Instagram. There's a photo of all of those books that is up right now. And if you go check that out, please be sure to leave me a comment on that Instagram photo with either the trophy emoji or one of the medal emojis, so that I know you came from this video, and also because I do feel like this project was a victory. I have to take a moment here at the end of the project and sincerely express my gratitude for all of your enthusiasm and all of your contributions to this project. I am left now with a fiction collection that I feel excited about. And I also get to look at it knowing that all of you had a part to play in helping to shape the fiction collection that I'm now left with. It is extra special to me because of that. So thank you. I am so excited that a lot of you got really invested in this project. This project got so much bigger of a reception than I ever thought it was going to. It's something I thought of kind of on a whim. I never dreamed that it would be something that all of you enjoyed as much as you did, or that I would enjoy as much as I did. I thought it was just going to be a means to an end, and really it's been like a highlight of this year. So thank you so much for all of your help. I could not have done this without you. And be sure to keep an eye out for the big bookshelf reorganization vlog that I plan on putting out in December. So that officially concludes my Trash My Bookshelves project. If you missed any of the videos within this project, or if you want to relive the entire experience, I will link the now completed playlist in the description box below and up in the cards. If you have any comments or questions about anything you've seen in this video or about anything in general, please feel free to put those in the comment section below. If you would like to keep up with what I'm reading and writing about right now, you can find me on various places around the internet, including Goodreads and Instagram, where you'll find that photo. The links to everywhere you can find me will be at the bottom of the description box below. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you're having a wonderful day. I'll see you in the next video. Bye.